If you know anyone that has a successful business, you've probably heard people say things to them like, wow, that's amazing that you started your own business. I wish I could do something like that. But what do people say to someone who quits their 9-to-5 job to start a business? Most of the time, it's met with confusion and concerned looks. But your job was so good and you made such good money. The economy isn't looking good, and it's probably not the best time to start a business. Today, I'll be talking about the stigma behind quitting a stable 9-to-5 job to start your self-employment journey, as well as the opportunity cost of not starting that business idea right now. I'm going to start with this concept of getting on a train to go somewhere. This analogy is used a lot when we're talking about trying to pick a life path. I commonly would reference this idea of I felt like I was on the wrong train, going down the track super fast, and I had no way of getting off. I also had to worry about staying on the engineering route and then getting too far down the track and not being able to switch to anything else. A lot of this fear came from the idea of starting my journey to getting my professional engineering license, which, if you're not familiar with the engineering field, you basically can only get after you've done 5 years of professional experience in the field. But before you can even do that step, you have to take a fundamentals of engineering exam, which you are usually supposed to take right around the time you graduate. My major didn't push this as much, so I never took this fundamentals exam. So when I was in my 9-to-5 job, I was constantly told that I needed to take this as soon as possible. The issue I had with this is taking this exam felt like I was 100% agreeing that I would in 5 years sign up and take the PE exam to get my professional engineering license, which genuinely I just didn't want to get. I didn't see myself doing engineering for more than 5 years, and I definitely didn't see myself wanting more responsibility in 5 years once I had this PE license. Having the license basically means that you're able to sign off on any construction plans and things like that. Basically, what it means is just more stress, more pressure, more responsibility, and more leadership potential in your job, which if you want to go down that route, it's a great choice, and it also helps you make more money. You get a higher salary usually if you're a PE, but for me, it just didn't make sense. I talked to a few people about this at my 9-to-5 job, and one person in particular said something to me that almost convinced me to actually take it. What they said was that I shouldn't look at it as getting on the wrong train and then going too far down a path. What I should consider it is opening up another potential train that I could get on, but I don't have to get on it yet. And I really liked this concept, right? It made it feel like I wasn't going down a path and getting stuck on it. I was just already at the train station, and I was opening up another track for a potential train I could get on in 5 years if I wanted to. But here's the issue with that. Bear with me with all these train analogies, but with that analogy, you are considering the fact that all you have to do is say, okay, and then the train track appears. But that's just not the reality. If I wanted to be self-employed, build my own business, anything like that, I couldn't just say, oh, the option's still there for me to go down the train tracks. I had to build those tracks up so that I could actually put a train on it and go down it. And this right here is where opportunity cost comes in. So if I had decided, yes, I will take the FE exam, I would have been required to study a lot for this exam to actually pass the exam, which would require a lot of time and a lot of energy from me. That time and energy would be spent building the track to go down the professional engineering route instead of spending the time outside of my 9-to-5 job after work and on weekends building a different track, one towards self-employment or my own business. So at the end of the day, there is always an opportunity cost for the things that you're spending time on. If you're in a 9-to-5 job right now, the main time that you have is after work, before work, or on the weekends to be building any other track that you want to build up to eventually go down. So ultimately, what I decided to do is I continued pushing off the conversation about taking my FE because I genuinely just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I spent that time instead working on my YouTube channel, taking courses on online business and coaching, and learning as much as I could outside of work and building up a track to go down the path that I'm on right now. And the truth is, if I had chosen to say, okay, I'll take the FE exam, I'll start building that track, I would not have the track that I have right now, the one that I'm on right now, already built up. And it would have made it that much harder for me to actually quit my job. Because the reality is, if you don't have another track to get on, you don't have a train already ready to go down a different path, it's 99% likely that you're going to stay in your job even if you don't want to be in it. So the key takeaway here is if you're currently in your 9-to-5 job and you don't want to continue working there, whether it's because you want to start freelancing, start your own business in a completely different field, make content online through social media, YouTube, etc., then what you should be doing with your spare time right now is building those tracks. Start putting down the foundations for whatever you want to be doing instead outside of your 9-to-5 job. And trust me, I know it's exhausting, but if it's something that you're truly passionate about, it will be so much easier for you to build a track for this passion project you have instead of building a track for career development in the field that you currently don't even like. So to close that section out, just remember that any time that you're not spending on your passions and what you want to be doing in the future is an opportunity cost that you have to incur. And not only is that opportunity cost in terms of time, it's also in terms of money, because the reality is most people who are successful starting their own business or freelance journey or content creation on YouTube, for example, end up making exponentially more money than they ever would have at their 9-to-5 job. And that is what I tell myself anytime I am stressed about the concept that I'm not making a ton of money right now. I have to remind myself that if I stick to this and I continue down this path with YouTube, with freelancing, etc., I will make exponentially more money over time, and eventually I will easily surpass the income I was making at my 9-to-5 job. And even if I'm not surpassing the income, at the end of the day, I always say passion beats money all the way. If I'm satisfied in what I'm doing in my day-to-day life and I'm making less money than I made at my engineering job, I would still be happy because I'm not burnt out because I'm so unaligned with the job that I'm doing on a daily basis. That's something to keep in mind as well. Moving on to point number 2 that I want to talk about is the stigma behind leaving a stable or cushy 9-to-5 job to start your own business, start freelancing, and in general, just following a non-traditional path. So something I realized recently that I thought was really interesting is if you think about it, when someone is starting up a business, unless they have years of experience in the exact same field or already have results to show, most people are not going to praise them for trying to start a business. I don't get many people who tell me that what I'm doing is amazing or they're proud of me. The people that do that are people that I've pretty much primed to understand that I need the praise and I need people to tell me that it's okay to do what I'm doing. Otherwise, it's going to be really easy to quit. Most people are going to feel uncomfortable about it, especially if it's someone you don't know very well, and especially if you're younger like I am. I'm literally only 24 years old. I graduated college just a few years ago, so for most people, it's very confusing that I would quit a stable 9-to-5 job that made me good money to try to pursue something different, especially because I did get a degree in engineering. However, although this is a conversation for a different day, I have found that my engineering degree has come in handy quite a lot. I was an industrial engineer, so it is a bit different than maybe mechanical engineering, but it actually has turned out to be extremely useful. And in general, my college degree is extremely useful for me in terms of how much I grew and matured and learned more about myself throughout the process of going to college. So I don't regret it at all. But the reality is, for some reason, there's still a stigma that if you go to college and you get a specific degree, then you should be using said degree. And I understand the stigma because you just paid to go to college. At the end of the day, I think that I could have been successful doing my own thing after a period of time, even if I didn't go to college. So I'm not one who's going to always praise college and say everyone should go anymore. I don't feel that way. And I do feel that in general, societal pressures tell us we have to go to college and it's the only option, which in a lot of cases it kind of is, because you need a degree to get a lot of jobs out there nowadays. It's a requirement, but it is something I wish I would have thought through a bit more and considered. Although at the end of the day, I again don't regret it. So the interesting thing though is that when you're in these beginning stages of building a business, no one is going to be praising you. No one's going to be telling you that you're doing something amazing and they're proud of you unless they have an entire full story or picture and fully understand what you're doing. Even then, it's pretty rare. However, if you think about it, going to college is something that is actively praised, and most parents will praise their students and show that they're proud of them by posting everything about their college experience on social media. And truly what college is just the beginning stages of getting a 9-to-5 or corporate job. That's the reality of what college is. And what most people don't talk about is that college does not guarantee that you're going to get a job right when you finish college, nor does it mean you're going to get a good job or a high-paying job when you get out of college. I know plenty of people who have spent extremely high amounts of money on their college degree and they aren't making enough to even barely cover their student loan payments. So I really wish that we would stop with this whole praise game when it comes to people going to college to get their degree, but then on the flip side, not praise and actively look down on those who are trying to do their own thing on social media or by building their own business, or even something as simple as staying in their hometown and getting a real estate license. Like, why is that something that we look down on nowadays when people are actively going out there, getting their own education? It's just not through a college, and getting a good job with that, whether it's working for themselves or working for someone else. That's really irrelevant. But it's something I've been seeing time and time again, that the more I talk to people about my journey and what I'm doing, the more I realize that this journey is not praised in the same way that getting a college degree is praised. So key takeaway here is that these traditional routes of going to college, getting your degree, and then getting a stable job are actively praised without anyone actually questioning what that path is setting someone up for. Because truly, that path is not meant for everyone, and we should be praising people for going down a path that resonates with them. And I think it would be a lot easier for people who are trying to start their own business or follow any type of non-traditional path if others would just praise them for it as well and tell them that they're proud of them for trying to do anything. And the last thing I want to talk about is the cost of these two different paths. And this is something I find very, very interesting. When I was in high school, my senior year of high school, I was all set to go to college. I had gotten into my school. I had gotten some scholarships. I was still in the process of applying for financial aid and all of that. And I started to learn more about the concept of opportunity cost when it comes to college. I'm sure there's a couple of you out here who have seen the concept of UPS driver is a better job than a doctor. And the reason for that is not only are doctors putting down a ton of money to get to the point where they're actually a doctor and making a good salary, more importantly than that, they're putting up front a lot of time. And that is something a UPS driver does not have to do. To become a UPS driver, it's a lot less of a entry time commitment before you start making a stable salary with your benefits, etc. And that can only grow over time. And if that UPS driver from year one starts investing their income, there's some calculations that show them making more money throughout their entire life than a doctor would. Now that's usually based on a general doctor's salary. Of course, there's more specialized doctors and surgeons that end up making much higher salaries. But I think it's an interesting illustration to consider because sometimes going the route of school and more school and more school and paying money and time to get an end result isn't always worth it. Now, if you're thinking right now, Paige, you always talk about you have to invest time to eventually get the success you want. Yes, I hear you, but here's the difference to me. Right now, I like to consider myself to be at that point where I'm deciding whether or not I should go to college, right? Staying in my 9-to-5 job, yes, would make me that consistent salary. However, it would take me 5 years to get to a point where I'm actually making a good engineering salary. Right now, I'd be in the beginning stages. I would need to go get my professional engineering license to get to that point. On the flip side, starting my own freelancing business and doing work I truly enjoy, which is a whole nother component that's important, can start to make me good money pretty quickly. And with freelancing and starting your own business, not only do you, number one, have potential to make even more income than you would if you work for someone else, you also have the ability of outsourcing any of the work that you yourself don't want to do and spending that time on something that can make you even more money. In a sense, the investment opportunities are endless and the amount of time you put into it is really up to you. It ends up becoming a business decision whether time spent on X task is going to be more worth it or time spent on Y task, and then deciding if you want to outsource task X. I obviously am not at that point yet. I'm not making enough money from my freelance and content creation to be able to outsource any of my work, but eventually one day I know that I will be. I'm going to have to decide what amount of my own time is worth investing and what tasks really don't need to be done by me anymore. In terms of YouTube, you'll know that that's why many people outsource video editing as one of the first things, because video editing takes a ton of time and doesn't technically have to be done by the creator. Of course, it depends on the channel. There's some people who take editing extremely seriously and that's the whole vibe of their channel. I don't think I'm personally one of those channels. To me, my channel brand is more about just what I talk about and my personality more than it is about the way I edit. So I don't see that being a huge issue. It's something I could potentially outsource in the future. And for the digital marketing agency that me and Julie are starting, there's a big opportunity for us to outsource a lot of the more admin tasks as time goes on. There's a lot of work that we could definitely outsource to a virtual assistant or something, which is literally what I'm doing right now, right? I'm a virtual assistant for other people right now. That's my kind of side hustle of the month that I'm working on. And we could eventually outsource that same type of work to a VA ourselves so that we have more time to spend on activities like networking or pitching to clients or getting more leads, etc. Oh my goodness. Wow. I kind of made this very detailed with like all of the concepts, but these are just my thoughts about the whole people judging for you quitting a stable 9-to-5. I think it's so ridiculous because at the end of the day, no one actually understands your own life but you. You're the only one who can make that decision for yourself. And just remember that the opportunity cost is really important to consider. If you know that you don't want to be in the job that you're in, then you should leave as soon as you possibly can and start making a plan to get out of it and do the thing that you actually want to do. So I want to know, what is that thing that you want to do that you're not doing right now? What is that alternative job that you would like to be doing, whether it's a business idea you have or a freelancing opportunity you want to take? If you could quit your job today to do the thing you really want to do, what would that be? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to learn some of the things I've learned since leaving my corporate job and starting my journey towards self-employment, then you should watch this video about how my work ethic and appreciation for money actually increased after I quit my 9-to-5 job. But that is all I have for you guys in today's video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.